Alright, here's an example of a old piece of test gear that I'm selling. This is an Anytone 10 meter transceiver. It's currently being transmitted on FM with a 1 kilohertz test tone going in. And we can see here on this spectrum analyzer we're measuring the deviation. It's about 4 kilohertz. And then this old piece of gear here, it's fairly still accurate. I know we're getting a reflection off of the screen here, but if we look at the scale that we're in the top scale. So that's what we're looking at there. We're actually the middle scale, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's almost 4. If we put this in the next scale, then it moves it to the top scale. So 50 is 5 kilohertz, the 40 is 4. So it's relatively accurate. And if we put this in the top position, then we're reading the 10. So we're close to 4 there also. So it's fairly accurate for what it's doing. There's also a lower deviation setting in this radio, so I'm going to go to that. You can test, I think, 2 kilohertz or something? Let's go into that. Make sure that that's off, because that's not really needed. What? Okay, I have to turn that off actually when it's transmitting. We'll come back to that in a second. So we don't want to skew our result with some noise reduction. Okay, here's the 4, now it's the 2. So we'll plug this back in, it's going to transmit, and we'll shut off that. Yeah, it's off, so that's good. So now we're showing about 2 kilohertz, and let's come back over here. The reason why it's kind of unorthodox looking is because of the BNC. It's not extending out, because usually this is feeding an oscilloscope. So at 2 kilohertz, there's the 2 kilohertz, and you can probably see the needle. I don't know if this helps some or not, maybe. So it's fairly accurate. If we move it up to the top position now, it's close to 2 there. This position would be reading here. This would be 3. The 30 would be 3, so we're somewhat close to 2 there. So it's fairly accurate for what it's showing. You know, if you change some of these settings here, then you lose the range. So I find that the 300 to 3K range is what I need to test on for FM. So now let's check some AM. And we'll see how it's looking there. I think this radio is set up for about 95% on each avenue. So we'll go to AM here. I need to inject a different style tone into the radio for AM. Let me do that momentarily. I'm using a Siglant function generator here too, so I'll send the tone into the radio. It's about 92% actually right now, so we'll switch this to the AM setting. Oops, and go to the full deflection, and it's fairly accurate there too. So we're in the 100%, and it's right around 93. So I'd say that's pretty darn accurate for what we're wanting to see. Every once in a while, it kind of fluctuates over the 95 to 100%, but all in all, it's pretty darn accurate. If I lower the RF power back, then the modulation drops to about 86, 87%. And it's showing about 90. So I would say I'm pretty happy with this, although I did say in my listing that it hasn't been professionally calibrated. If you open the lid on this, there's a lot of calibration settings and stuff like that you can adjust. So having this professionally calibrated would probably make a difference between, you know, what we're seeing now and what we'd see later. kind of thing. But I'd say for a hobbyist or just someone that wants some basic understanding, it's definitely working. So that's basically the purpose of the video here, is just to show this. It's made by a company called CT Systems. I actually used it a very brief time in my small radio business that I operate. It's kind of a one-man show. So I try not to really talk about that too much on the videos here, but for the amateur radio channel. But I have used it, but I'm very happy with the new spectrum analyzer that I purchased that has all these advanced settings, and it's just a big breath of fresh air. But this was fun to use for the time being, and having it like professionally calibrated or something could really make this a lot funner to use. I think it's quite expensive to get that done. I did get a couple quotes, and I was rather shocked at what some companies were wanting to charge for that, so that's why it never got done. But there are a bunch of adjustments on the inside of this. There's another meter another brand called Wave Tech that's been out for years and years, and they made a meter very similar to this. And there's actually a service manual out there for that meter, which basically I think is the same meter as this. And someone may be able to do some calibration on their own with if they have some quality equipment to use to calibrate. Which I'm not saying I couldn't have probably done a good job calibrating it. I just don't have time and really desire. Once I got the spec in here, it's really at a certain point there's just no reason for me to really invest too much time on this, other than it's a cool piece of gear. So I hope that the new owner it goes to will really enjoy it, because I've enjoyed it for the time that I've owned it. Alright, that's it. This is the CT Systems. What the heck is the back say? Model 4101, made in the USA. Don't see too much of that stuff anymore. 73.